All right, hello friends and followers. Well, again, one of these Drake videos, and you guys are like, oh my god, I'm tired of Drake videos. Well, okay, this one might be interesting to Drake aficionados. So here's a Drake R4C, as you can see. It's upside down. Well, okay, because I've been working on it, and what I wanted to do was this heatsink goes to the output transistor here, which is right about there. That little guy there is the output transistor for the audio, and this runs very hot. And this transformer here, as you can see, does run very hot. So it doesn't anymore. I followed the WB4HFN simple Drake power supply modification. Well, was it simple? I'm not sure it was simple, but it happened. So he has this on his webpage right here, which is pretty useful. This receiver didn't go exactly the way he had it planned here. I think it's a later model, but it was pretty close. So I did indeed hack this circuit board here, and I hacked it here. And the way this goes is, this is your 12 volts, or I guess in this case 18 volts DC coming out of here. I did add this jumper, but really this jumper here has to go to the input. So here's the input of the 12 volt regulator right there. That's where that goes. And I did indeed put the audio feed for the audio output transistor onto there. This is grounded. You attach a ground wire here, as he says, and that's the output. Anyway, here's my board, the way it went, and I did pull out some large resistors there. So as he says, you pull out the pass transistor, you take this guy out. I'm trying to find the big resistors here on my desk that I pulled out. Anyway, there's two big square resistors that you pull out. And those are located on the other side here. Anyway, those resistors are what's responsible for making all this burning and oxidation, because those things probably ran, who knows, 300 degrees, 500 degrees. They were hot. So those have been taken out. So anyway, how did I do this? Well, it turns out that I did attach this wire here from what was there, and I'm trying to now figure out why I did this the way I did to help you folks out. Anyway, this resistor here is 150 volts. That didn't get changed. Here's the 12 volt regulator that I put in. It's not heat sinked yet. I don't have a heat sink. It's running kind of hot, but passable. So the other issue was, you want to have basically the voltages that Ron talks about coming out of this thing, and let's take a look. So you want to really have 11 volts to the PTO, 12 volts to whatever takes 12 volts, and the audio amp gets what it gets. It gets basically topped off on regulated 14 volts. I found that I was getting more than 14 volts out of this thing. So when I look at the output of this diode pair, so this diode pair right here, there's about 18 volts right there. In fact, I'll show you how much there is here. Let's measure it. So I'm measuring there, how much? 15 volts. Okay, 15. Anyway, I wanted to drop that down, so I put some diodes in series to drop it down. And so now I'm feeding the transistor right here, or I'm feeding the voltage regulator input right there with how much? with 14 volts. So that's good. That gives it less work to do, really. That gives it less regulation to do. So about 14 volts headroom going in there, and I think that's fine. So what am I getting out of it? Let's take a look at that. 12 volt regulator, should have 12 volts exactly. So let's look at right there. Okay, so yeah, it's working well. 12.15 is coming out of it. Not running too hot. And yeah, you can see the cuts I put in the board there too. There's a cut. And there's a cut right there. So that's how I hacked this together. And this little diagram he has is pretty useful. I didn't find that some of the parts he talked about removing were even in my power board. I just removed the 2 large resistors, which I can't find now. They're here somewhere. And I kept putting in diodes. There they are. There they are. Okay, so yeah, you want to get these 2 big honkers out of here. So what they did was they had this thing dropping B+ voltage, which is really crazy, but this was dropping B+ voltage to these resistors and causing a lot of heat. The other trouble it has is that the power transformer runs super hot. It doesn't now, but it did. You could almost not touch this power transformer. So the B+ side was really running hard, and that's not good for it. So anyway, so we still got B+ coming out through here. 150 goes out the edge of the resistor there, and we can verify that. Here we go. There's about 150 coming out of there. And that's really it. So I put these 1 amp diodes in parallel, so 2 amps. Those darn things are running super hot. So this thing only really, the audio amplifier transistor here, which you can see down there, only takes about, I measured 0.7 amps. So I'm not sure why it's really pounding those diodes, but I did want to drop some voltage with these, and they're running bloody hot. So the regulator's running hot to the touch. Probably should find a heatsink for it. So anyway, yeah, here's the wire for the PTO. So the PTO, I did drop it with a resistor, or I'm sorry, a diode off of the 12 volts, because the PTO, Drake wants 11 volts there regulated. So the 12 volt regulator does regulate it, and the diode drops it a bit. Let's check the voltage on that circuit. So yeah, here's the PTO feed to the PTO, and that's close to 11 volts, so I didn't really worry about it. It's like, 11.49 or something. Who cares? Okay, so yeah, this PTO wire goes to the PTO through the back, little back 40 here, and this wire here goes to the audio final. So I just simply put that wire on the input. So the input to the 12 volt regulator is on top here. That's the input. And so this wire now, I fished it out. This wire was connected here on the calibrator, 12 volts on the calibrator. Disconnected it, and I took it out of the bundle and just ran that wire from this audio board here with the transformer windings and all that. Ran that right over here and just put that right to the input of the regulator. So that's actually, do I want to do it that way? Because really, let's see. So I'm really pounding those diodes. This thing wants to have 14 volts to the audio amp. Okay, so yeah, I've given it 14 volts. I don't want to really give it 16 or 18 volts and blow it up. So yeah, my little diodes are really under some stress, but that's about 14.35 volts going to the audio, so that's fine. And the radio sounds well. It works good. So I hope I described this well to people. I don't know if I did or didn't, but pretty much followed his hacks. remove the resistors here. And some diodes came out too. Let's see what else is lying around here. Yeah, those come out. You take out that guy. I took out a few diodes too. I'm trying to find here. There's one right there. You just take out two of those and you make the hacks on the board. And then you just got to find the wiring and make sure that everything matches the diagram here. So yeah, so this wire here went to the PTO. So the PTO was off of one of these resistors. So they had one of these dropping to the PTO, and I just took it out and left the PTO wire soldered in there, and I put a wire in where the resistor was, and then I put a diode in here to drop the PTO a bit, and it's not even hot, so it's getting about 11.5 volts in the PTO. This is the audio wire for the supply to the audio output transistor, running at roughly 14.5 volts. And that's about it. So the regulator is in here. It's running a bit hot, but maybe it'll be okay. So that's my little Ron, or little modification that Ron Baker has provided here. Thank you, Ron. It seems like it works pretty good. It's not exactly what I had to work with, but it's pretty close. So yeah. Let the radio run and see how it goes. These are running awful hot, really hot, scary hot. And the transistor is still running hot. It's no warmer or colder than it used to be, but what I'm now missing is I don't have these B+ drop resistors in here anymore. And the transformer here is almost cool to the touch. So this thing was overheating. This thing was probably like 150 degrees. 170 degrees. Now it's really cool. It's probably running at like 120, 130. So happy with that. Put my hands on here. I don't get burned. It's easy. The transformer will last. So I think in the main sense of things, this thing is using less power from the wall socket. I guess I could measure it, but it's using less watts. It should last longer, hopefully, and no hum or anything. So Ron was saying to put in a bunch of capacitors. I never put those in there, and it's still, there's no hum or anything. So, and the PTO is stable, so I'm pretty happy with this. I think this little regulator is doing a great job. So I still got to put in a screw. They actually put a transformer hold down screw through here, and I got to put that back in. That's about it. So yeah, I put in some dropping diodes, and I ran the PTO wire from where it connected to here. I guess I could have pulled that wire off, but I left it there and just ran a jumper wire. And that's about it, really. Those diodes are dropping the power down a bit. You'll find it puts out about 18 volts there. Well, let's measure it again. 17, 18 volts, which was a little too high, so I dropped it down with some diodes. So there's the output power from those two diodes there. Okay, 15.86. And that's that point right there, 15.86. So 15.86 right there. And into the input of this thing, we have what? 14 volts, which is what you kind of want. So that's good. And that probably keeps the heat off this thing too. It won't have to drop as much. So, and any line fluctuations, I think we got those handled. So I think we're good to go here. So I'm going to call it a day on this thing. I'll run the radio for a while, make sure it runs fine, doesn't have any glitches. Run it for days, weeks, a month. Make sure it's solid. That's about it. Well, I hope you enjoyed this. Again, this is the Simple Drake receiver power supply modification. It helps you remove these two resistors here, which are very hot, and they cause a lot of overheating in the radio, and they cause a lot of brown, awful residue. So I'm glad that's out. I'm not sure why Drake liked to suck off the 150 volt B+ line, but it wasn't very efficient. I think it's because these 12 volt regulators weren't invented yet. That's probably why. So anyway, somebody came along and said, use it. It's hot, but it's not killing me. And the transformer now is nice and cold. So, well, it's not cold, but it's not burning hot. So, I think this is a worthy mod. Well, it's getting hot. It's not as hot as it was, but it's not running super cold anyway. But I suppose the mod is worthwhile. Is this thing any colder? Not really. It's just still running hot. I just wonder if I can keep reducing some current here. And get this not so hot. I wonder how low I can go. Except the only way to use current is the resistors, and it does make heat, so maybe I'm not going to win. All right, well, that's about it for the RC, the R4C with the modification from Ron Baker. WB4HFN, the Drake Guru. All right, take care. Have a great day.